Planet Velen Prime burned beneath a blood-red sky. Smoke clouds rose from what had once been shining cities, now reduced to rubble and ash. The Krex Empire had come to finish what they started 3 months ago. Elder Nala pressed her scaled hand against the cold metal wall of the underground bunker. She could feel the vibrations from the bombing above. Each impact sent dust cascading from the ceiling. Her people were dying, and she knew it would not be long before the Krex found this last hiding place. "Elder, the quantum communicator is ready," said young tech worker Vin. His voice shook with fear, but his hands remained steady on the controls. Even facing death, the Vellani maintained their dedication to duty. Nala looked around the small chamber. Only 12 of her people remained alive down here. 12 survivors from a civilization that once numbered in the billions. The Krex had been thorough in their work of genocide. "Are you certain the signal will reach beyond our system?" Nala asked. "Yes, Elder. The quantum burst will travel faster than light. It should reach at least 50 star systems before the energy fades," Vin replied. "But we do not know if anyone will hear it, or if they will care." Above them, another explosion shook the bunker. Dust fell like snow. A child whimpered in the corner, held close by her mother. They were the last children of the Vellani race. "Send the message," Nala ordered. Vin activated the ancient device. The Vellani had built quantum communicators centuries ago, during their golden age of exploration. They had stopped using them when they chose the path of peace over expansion. Now that choice might have doomed them. The message was simple. Nala had written it herself in the common galactic language, hoping that someone, somewhere, would understand. "Any civilization receiving this transmission, we're the Vellani of the Kepler 442 system. We are under attack by the Krex Empire. Our cities are destroyed, our fleets are gone, we are dying. Please help us. We'll share our knowledge, our resources. Anything you desire? Please. We are running out of time. Coordinates 16.4, 7 Galactic Standard. We are the last." The quantum burst fired. Energy coursed through the device, carrying their desperate plea across the void of space. The communicator sparked and died. Its ancient circuits burned out from "The effort it has done," Ven said quietly. Nala nodded. They had thrown their message into the darkness, hoping someone would catch it. Now all they could do was wait and try to survive until help arrived. If help came at all, 3 star systems away, the message reached an automated listening post. The computer recorded the signal and filed it as unknown transmission. It would be weeks before anyone looked at it. 7 systems away, the message passed through a trade route monitored by the peaceful Zenith Federation. Their sensors detected the quantum burst, but dismissed it as natural background radiation. The Zenith had long ago decided that space was too dangerous for exploration. 12 systems away, signal reached the edge of Corrin space. The warrior species recorded everything, but they were busy fighting their own war against Krex expansion. They had no ships to spare for rescue missions. But the message traveled further. 18 systems away. It passed through a region of space that most galactic civilizations avoided. Here dwelt races that others called dangerous or primitive. Here lived the survivors of harsh worlds where only the strong endured. And 26 systems away, the message reached a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star, a world that Galactic databases listed as a Class 12 death world, a place where evolution had created something unprecedented in galactic history. The signal reached. Earthjack Torres rubbed his tired eyes and reached for another cup of coffee. The night shift at Deep Space Monitoring Station Alpha was usually quiet. Humanity had only been listening to space for 30 years since they developed quantum communication technology. Most nights, Jake heard nothing but cosmic background. Noise tonight was different. His equipment registered a quantum burst from deep space. Jake frowned at the readings. The signal was too structured to be natural, too complex to be random. He ran the message through the translation protocols that Earth scientists had developed from studying galactic broadcasts. "Holy hell," Jake whispered as the translation appeared on his screen. He read the message 3 times before his hands stopped shaking enough to reach for the emergency communication line. This was the first distress call humanity had ever received. From alien civilization, Command. This is Monitoring Station Alpha. I need to speak with Director Walsh immediately. We have a Code 1 situation. Director Walsh arrived at the station within an hour, accompanied by a team of linguists, scientists, and military officers. They verified the translation, checked the signal source, and confirmed that the coordinates pointed to a real star system. How long ago was this sent? Walsh asked. Based on quantum propagation delay, approximately 4 hours, replied Dr. Kim, the station's lead scientist. If their situation was desperate when they sent it, Walsh nodded grimly. Every hour they delayed could mean more alien deaths. But humanity had never made contact with alien civilization, had protocols to follow, procedures to observe. Get me Admiral Stone at Defense Command, Walsh ordered. This goes to the top. Admiral Stone listened to the recording in silence. Around the conference table sat the most powerful people on Earth. The President, Secretary of Defense, representatives from every major nation. They all stared at the translation displayed on the main screen. Are we certain this is genuine? Asked the President. As certain as we can be, replied Dr. Kim. The mathematics check out. The coordinates are real. And the linguistic patterns suggest a highly advanced but desperate civilization. What do we know about this Krex Empire? Stone asked. It's nothing, admitted General Price from Intelligence. This is our first contact with galactic civilization. We have no data on any of these species. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the implications. Earth was being asked to intervene in an alien war with no knowledge of the stakes, the players, or the consequences. They're asking for help, said the President quietly. A dying race is begging for assistance. It could be a trap, warned General Price. It could be flying into an ambush. Or we could be abandoning innocents to genocide, Stone replied. The message mentions coordinates. If we do nothing, we'll always wonder if we could have saved them. The debate continued for 2 hours. Some argued for caution, for sending scouts instead of combat ships. Others pushed for a full military response. In the end, it was Admiral Stone who made the decision that would change human history. We go in force, he declared. If this is real, these people need immediate help. If it's a trap, we'll be ready for it. Earth has never backed down from a fight, and we won't start now. Orders went out across the planet. The 7th Fleet, humanity's most advanced battle group, received immediate deployment orders. 12 of Earth's newest warships would carry the human response to the stars. Captain Rex Kane stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderstrike and watched his crew prepare for departure. None of them knew what they would find in the Villani system. They only knew that somewhere in the darkness people were dying. Earth had chosen to answer their call for help. The fleet engaged their quantum drives and disappeared into the void, carrying humanity's first message to galactic civilization. It would be delivered in the language that Earth spoke best, the language of firepower. The UES Thunderstrike cut through the darkness of space like a blade. Captain Rex Kane stood on the bridge, watching the stars blur past as his ship traveled faster than light toward the Villani system. Behind him, 11 other human warships maintained perfect formation. Captain, we will reach the Villani system in 6 hours, reported Navigation Officer Lisa Park. Her voice was calm, but Kane could see the tension in her shoulders. This was humanity's first venture into alien space, and nobody knew what they would find. Kane nodded and turned to address his crew. The bridge was filled with the best soldiers Earth had to offer. Men and women who had trained their entire lives for war, though none had imagined they would fight aliens among the stars. Listen up, people, Kane said. In 6 hours, we enter unknown territory. We're going to help a species we've never met, fight an enemy we know nothing about. But remember this, someone sent a cry for help across the galaxy, and Earth answered. That makes us the good guys. Chief Engineer Tom Blake looked up from his console. Captain, all weapon systems are online. Railguns are charged. Fusion torpedoes are armed. And the point defense grid is active. We're ready for anything. Kane smiled grimly. The Thunderstrike was Earth's newest Dreadnought-class warship, built with technology that had been tested in countless simulations but never in real combat. Its weapons were designed to destroy anything humanity might face among the stars. Today, they would find out if Earth's engineers had built them strong enough. What do we know about our enemies? Asked Lieutenant Commander Nova Smith, the ship's tactical officer. Kane activated the main display. A holographic map showed the Villani system, with the limited intelligence they had gathered from the distress signal. The Krex Empire, Kane began. According to the message, they're systematically destroying the Villani civilization. We know they have warships, they have superior numbers, and they've been winning this war for months. Beyond that, we're flying blind. Dr. Amanda Wells, the fleet's xenobiologist, stepped forward. Captain, I've been analyzing the Villani distress signal. If the Krex defeated them easily, we should assume they're also at least our technological equals, maybe, Kane replied. But the Villani chose peace over war. Earth chose differently. Humanity had spent centuries perfecting the art of warfare. While other species might have evolved on peaceful garden worlds, humans came from a planet that tried to kill them. Every day, Earth was a death world, and it had forged its children in fire and blood. Captain called Communications Officer Pete Morgan. I'm receiving a transmission from Admiral Stone aboard the UES Warhammer. Kane opened the channel. Admiral Stone's weathered face appeared on the screen. It's transmitted from the command ship that was following 6 hours behind the main battle group. Captain Kane, what's your status? Stone asked. All ships reporting ready, sir. We'll reach the Villani system on schedule. Good. Remember, Kane, this is first contact. How we handle this will determine how the galaxy sees humanity. Show them that Earth keeps its promises. Understood, sir. We won't let you down. The transmission ended, leaving Kane alone with his thoughts. The weight of representing all humanity pressed down on his shoulders. In a few hours, he would either save an alien civilization or start a war that could destroy Earth itself. Captain, incoming quantum burst, Morgan announced. It's another message from the Villani system. Kane's blood ran cold. If the Villani were still sending messages, it meant some of them were still alive. But for how much longer? The translation appeared on the main screen. Kane read it aloud. To our rescuers from beyond the stars. We estimate 6 hours before they break through our defenses. If you are coming, please hurry. We are so few now. Elder Nala of the Villani. Silence filled the bridge. 6 hours. They would arrive exactly when the last Villani city fell. Engineering? Can we increase speed? Kane demanded. Blake shook his head. We're already at maximum safe velocity, Captain. Push the engines any harder and we risk a core breach. Kane slammed his fist on the command chair. They were going to be too late. After traveling 26 light years, they would arrive just in time to watch the genocide end? Wait, said Dr. Wells. Captain, what if we split the fleet? Send the fastest ships ahead while the heavy cruisers follow. Kane considered it. The destroyers could reach the system an hour earlier, but they would face the entire Krex fleet alone. It was suicide. No, Kane decided. We go in together, or not at all. I won't sacrifice good ships for an hour. Captain Nova spoke up. There might be another way. What if we don't slow down when we reach the system? We could drop out of quantum drive at combat speed and hit them before they know we're there. Eyes widened. That's insane. Dropping out of quantum drive at that velocity could tear the ship apart. Could it work? Kane asked. Blake ran calculations on his console. Maybe the structural stress would be enormous, but our ships are built tough. It would give us one hell of an opening attack. Kane made his decision. Do it. Signal the fleet. We're going in hot. Across the human battle group, crews strapped themselves into emergency positions. Engineers reinforced critical systems. Gunners prepared their weapons for immediate firing. The plan was desperate, dangerous. The human fleet screamed out of quantum space like avenging angels. 12 ships materialized in the Villani system, traveling at incredible speed. Their weapons already charged and targeting systems locked onto the nearest Krex vessels. Contact? Nova shouted. I count 47 Krex ships in system. There, surrounding the last Villani planet, Massive alien warships were bombarding the planet's surface, while smaller vessels hunted down fleeing refugee ships. The sight filled him with cold rage. All ships, this is Captain Kane. We are witnessing genocide. Today we teach the galaxy that humanity protects the innocent. All weapons free. Show them what Earth is capable of. The Thunderstrike's railguns fired first.
Gotcha.
Projectiles accelerated to 30% light speed reached their targets before the Kreks even knew they were. Under attack, 3 alien ships exploded in brilliant flashes as tungsten rounds punched through their hulls across the battle group. Human weapons opened fire. Fusion torpedoes turned space into a constellation of miniature suns. Particle beams carved through. Alien armor like paper. The Kreks fleet, caught completely off guard, scattered in panic. Captain Nova reported with savage satisfaction, "The enemy is breaking formation. They don't know what hit them." Kane smiled as he watched Kreks ships burning in the void. Earth had come to the Vellani system, carrying hope and firepower in equal measure. The Deathworlders had arrived, and they were everything the galaxy's nightmares had warned about. War Leader Vex stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Kreks Dominator, watching his forces complete their work. The last Vellani city was burning below, and his ships were hunting down the final refugee vessels. Another successful conquest for the Kreks Empire, War Leader called his sensor operator. "We have unknown contacts dropping out of quantum space. 12 vessels, small class, unknown configuration." Vex barely looked up from his tactical display. "More refugees trying to escape? Destroy them." "Sir, these ships are not Vellani. Appear to be ... different." Now Vex turned his attention to the sensor readings. The new ships were indeed strange, smaller than his battle cruisers but moving with purpose toward his fleet. Their energy signatures were unlike anything in the Kreks database. "Are they military vessels?" Vex asked. "Unknown, sir. They are not responding to our identification requests." Vex studied the formation. 12 ships against his 47. Either these newcomers were incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. He decided to find out which. Open a channel. Let's see who dares to interrupt Kreks' business. Before his communications, the officer could comply. Space around the lead Kreks patrol ships erupted in fire. 3 vessels simply vanished, torn apart by projectiles moving faster than sensors could track. "Report," Vex roared. "Unknown weapon type, sir. Kinetic projectiles at extreme velocity. Our shields had no effect." Vex watched in disbelief as more of his ships exploded. The enemy weapons were unlike anything he had encountered. No energy beams. No plasma bolts. Just solid metal moving at impossible speeds. His advanced shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, were useless. All ships returned fire. Showed these aliens the power of the Kreks Empire. His fleet responded with a massive barrage. Energy beams and plasma missiles streaked toward the unknown. Vessels Vex smiled, expecting to see the enemy ships destroyed. Instead, he watched his weapons splash harmlessly against alien shields that seemed specifically designed to absorb energy attacks. "Impossible," Vex whispered. On the bridge of the U.S. Thunderstrike, Captain Kane watched the Kreks' response with satisfaction. "Their weapons are all energy-based," he reported to his crew. "Our magnetic shields are holding perfectly." Earth's ships had been designed to fight energy weapons. Human engineers, always preparing for the worst, had created shields that could deflect plasma and particle beams while remaining vulnerable to kinetic attacks. They had assumed any alien threat would use similar technology to humanity's own energy weapons. They had been wrong about alien technology, but right about alien tactics. "Captain," called Nova from her tactical station, "the enemy is trying to surround us. Standard encirclement maneuver." Kane smiled coldly. "Standard won't work today. All ships, pattern Delta 7. Time to show them how Deathworlders fight." Human fleet suddenly scattered, breaking formation in what appeared to be panic. The Kreks ships moved to pursue, exactly as Kane had hoped. But instead of fleeing, the human vessels executed a complex dance of destruction that no peaceful species had ever imagined. The UES Reaper, commanded by Captain Blake, dove beneath the ecliptic plane and came up behind a group of Krex destroyers. His railguns fired in sequence, each shot precisely timed to hit a different target. 5 enemy ships died in as many seconds. The EU's Lightning used its superior speed to race around the edge of the battle, firing fusion torpedoes into the Krex. Formation from multiple angles. The alien ships, trying to track the fast-moving target, fired on each other in the confusion. War leader, his tactical officer, reported, "We've lost 18 ships. The enemy has taken no casualties." Vex stared at his display in growing horror. His massive fleet was being dismantled by 12 small ships using tactics he had never seen. The enemy fought like they were born to warfare, like violence was their natural state. "What species fights like this?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir." "But their home system?" The officer paused, checking his database. "Sir, according to our long-range sensors, they came from a Class 12 death world." Vex felt his blood freeze. Deathworlds were legendary in galactic civilization. Planets so hostile that only the most dangerous species could survive there. Most civilized races avoided such worlds completely, considering them cursed. "A Deathworld species," Vex repeated. "We're fighting Deathworlders." The surface of Velen. Prime Elder Nala huddled in her bunker with the last survivors of her people. Through their primitive sensors, they could see the battle raging above their planet. The unknown ships that had answered their call were fighting the Krex with incredible skill. Elder whispered, "Tech worker Vin, the strangers are winning." "I count only 29 Krex ships remaining." Allah could hardly believe it. For months, the Krex had seemed unstoppable. Their massive fleet had crushed every Vellani defense, destroyed every hope of resistance. Now these mysterious rescuers were tearing them apart with apparent ease. "Can we communicate with them?" Nala asked. Vin worked frantically at his console. "I'm trying, Elder. Their communication systems are ... different, but I think I can establish." A link above them? Captain Kane received the incoming transmission. The translation software worked slowly, but eventually a message appeared on his screen. "Unknown vessels. This is Elder Nala of the Vellani. Are you here to help us?" Kane opened a response channel. "Elder Nala, this is Captain Kane of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call. We're here to help." There was a long pause before the reply came. "Earth, you are from the Deathworld, Earth?" Kane frowned. "How did this alien know about Earth?" "Yes, we are from Earth, is that a problem?" Another pause. Then, "No problem, Captain Kane. We are just surprised. Thank you for coming. The Krex have killed so many of us." Kane's expression hardened. He turned to his weapons officer. "Target their command ship, full spread. Fusion torpedoes, sir. That will be overkill. 1 torpedo could destroy it." "I want to send a message." Kane replied coldly. "Use all 6. The fusion torpedoes struck the Krex Dominator simultaneously. The massive warship, pride of the Krex fleet, simply vanished in a ball of nuclear fire. War leader Vex died without even knowing what killed him. The remaining Krex ships, seeing their commander destroyed, broke formation and fled. Some tried to escape toward the outer system, others attempted to reach quantum jump points. The human ships pursued them all, showing no mercy to those who had committed genocide. "Captain." Kane watched the last Krex vessel explode and felt a cold satisfaction. Earth had traveled 26 light-years to answer a cry for help, and they had delivered justice with extreme prejudice. "All ships, report status," he ordered. One by one, his captains reported in. No human casualties, no significant damage. A perfect victory against overwhelming odds. Kane opened a channel to Elder Nala. "The Krex fleet has been destroyed. Your people are safe." The reply came through heavy with emotion. "Thank you, brave warriors of Earth. You have saved us from extinction. How can we ever repay you?" Kane looked out at the burning wreckage of the enemy fleet. "Just remember that when you needed help," Earth answered. 3 weeks after the Battle of Velen Prime, the news reached the Galactic Council on the neutral world of Centria. Delegate Orion of the Peaceful Zenith Federation stood before the assembled representatives, his blue skin pale with shock as he read the intelligence report. "Honorable delegates," Orion began, his voice trembling, "I bring disturbing news from the Outer Rim. The Krex Empire's 7th Fleet has been completely destroyed." Murmurs of surprise rippled through the chamber. The Krex were known for their military might. Few civilizations could challenge even a single Krex battle group, let alone destroy an entire fleet. "Who accomplished this feat?" asked Delegate Kara of the Merchant Guild. "The Koran? The Vex Collective?" Orion shook his head. "No, honored delegates. The attackers were a previously unknown species calling themselves humans. They came from a star system designated as Earth." The chamber fell silent. Every delegate accessed their civilization's databases, searching for any mention of this human species. What they found made them afraid. "Earth," whispered Delegate Zorn of the Mining Consortium. "The computer lists it as a Class 12 death world, the most dangerous classification possible." Dr. Amanda Wells stood in the makeshift laboratory aboard. The U's Thunderstrike, studying the data the Villani had shared with humanity. Elder Nala had given them access to thousands of years of galactic history, and what Amanda discovered changed everything. "Captain Kane," she called over the intercom, "you need to see this." Kane arrived at the lab within minutes, followed by several of his senior officers. Amanda had holographic displays showing star charts, species classifications, and historical records. "What have you found, Doctor?" Kane asked. Amanda pointed to a classification chart. "According to galactic standards, Earth rates as one of the most hostile worlds ever cataloged. Most intelligent species evolved on what they call garden worlds, planets with stable climates, no dangerous predators, and abundant resources." She activated another display showing various alien homeworlds. Peaceful meadows, calm oceans, gentle weather patterns. These civilizations never experienced evolutionary pressure like we did. They never had to fight for survival against their own planet. Kane studied the data. "You're saying we're naturally more aggressive than other species?" "More than that, Captain. We're apex predators who learn to build starships. To most galactic civilization, we're living nightmares." Engineering Chief Blake whistled softly. "No wonder our tactics worked so well against the Krex. They've probably never fought anyone who actually enjoyed combat." Amanda nodded grimly. Galactic community maintains peace through trade and diplomacy. Actual warfare is rare because most species find violence distasteful. The Krex were considered unusually aggressive, but even they relied on intimidation more than actual fighting. "And then we showed up," Kane said quietly. "And then we showed up," Amanda confirmed, "on the Krex homeworld of Krexia, Supreme Commander." Drax received the final reports from the survivors of the 7th Fleet. Only 6 ships had escaped the massacre at Velen Prime, and their accounts seemed impossible to believe. "Tell me again about their weapons," Drax demanded of Captain Hex, one of the survivors. Hex's hands shook as he spoke. "Kinetic projectiles, sir. Solid metal moving at incredible speeds. Our shields were useless, and their tactics—" He paused. "Struggling to find words, they fought like predators, sir, like they were born for war." Drax studied the tactical recordings. The human ships moved with a coordination that spoke of centuries of military evolution. Their attack patterns were unlike anything in Krex military doctrine. "Where did these humans come from?" Drax asked his intelligence chief. "A world called Earth, sir. It's listed in our databases as a restricted death world. A civilization has ever made contact with its inhabitants?" Drax felt a chill run down his spine. Death worlds were the stuff of legend in galactic civilization. Planets so hostile that survival required constant violence. Most species avoided such worlds completely. "How many of these humans are there?" he asked. "Unknown, sir. Bad. But if they can field fleets like the one that destroyed our 7th, we must assume they have significant industrial capacity." Drax made a decision that would define the Krex response. "Send word to all fleet commanders. The human species is to be considered a priority threat. Begin mobilizing our core battle groups." Elder Nala walked through the ruins of her people's capital city, accompanied by Captain Kane and a team of human engineers. The Krex bombardment had been thorough, but some structures could still be salvaged. This was our hall of learning, Nala explained, gesturing to a partially collapsed building. We stored the knowledge of our entire civilization here. Kane's engineers were already scanning the structure. We can save most of it, reported Chief. Blake, the data cores are intact, just buried under debris. Nala looked at the human with wonder. You would help us rebuild, even though we have nothing to offer in return. Kane stopped walking and faced the Villani elder. You have plenty to offer, Elder Nala. Knowledge, history, friendship. Earth doesn't help people because we expect payment. We help because it's the right thing to do. But even as he spoke, Kane knew that not everyone on Earth shared his idealistic view. Reports from home indicated heated debates in the Global Council about humanity's role in galactic affairs. Some wanted to establish trade relationships. Others pushed for military expansion. A few advocated for isolation. Captain Nala said quietly, there is something you should know about the galactic community. The news of your victory is spreading. Other species are concerned. Concerned how? Kane asked. They fear you, Nala admitted. Deathworld species are legendary in our databases, but they were thought to be extinct. The fact that humans not only survived but thrived has shaken the foundations of galactic civilization. Kane considered this information. Are we likely to face retaliation? Possibly. The Galactic Council maintains peace through careful balance. A new military power, especially one as effective as humanity, could destabilize everything. Across the galaxy, the story of the human victory spread through trade networks and communication relays. Each retelling added new details, often exaggerated. The 12 human ships became 100. The quick victory became an epic battle lasting days. Captain Kane became a legendary warrior who had personally killed war leader Vex in single combat. On the peaceful world of Harmonia, Delegate Prime Minister Lin read the intelligence reports with growing alarm. Her species had evolved on a world with no predators, no wars, no violence of any kind. The concept of a civilization built around warfare was alien and terrifying. Summoned the Defense Council, she ordered her aid. We must prepare for the possibility that these humans will continue their expansion. Similar conversations were taking place on dozens of worlds. The Krex Empire, for all their flaws, had been a known quantity. Their tactics were predictable, their demands straightforward. But these humans were something new and dangerous. On the industrial world of Factoria, the manufacturing guilds received urgent orders for weapons and defensive systems. Worlds that had not built warships in centuries began dusting off old blueprints. The arms industry, dormant for generations, suddenly found itself in high demand. Captain Kane stood on the observation deck of the Thunderstrike, watching Villani. Construction crews work alongside human engineers to rebuild their world. It was a hopeful sight. He could not shake the feeling that darker times lay ahead. His communication officer's voice came over the intercom. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. Admiral Stone wants to speak with you immediately. Kane made his way to the communication center, wondering what news awaited him from home. The galaxy was changing, and humanity found itself at the center of that change. Whether they would be seen as saviors or conquerors remained to be seen. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Velen Prime. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the U's Warhammer, Earth's newest and largest battleship, watching the construction of humanity's first permanent starbase in alien space. The Velen system had become the forward headquarters for Earth's expanding operations. Admiral reported Captain Miller, his aide, the Corran delegation has arrived. They're requesting permission to dock. Stone nodded. Granted, and prepare the conference room. Today, we make history. The Corran ship was unlike anything in human design. Built for war on a high-gravity world, it looked more like a flying fortress than a starship. When the Corran delegation boarded the Warhammer, Stone understood why their species had earned respect even from the peaceful galactic community. Commander Grox stood nearly 8 feet tall. His thick, armor-like skin, scarred from countless battles. His people had evolved on a world where the gravity was 3 times Earth normal. and it showed in their massive builds and powerful movements. Admiral Stone Grok rumbled in heavily accented Galactic standard, "We come to speak of alliance." Stone gestured to the conference room. "Welcome aboard, Commander. I think we have much to discuss." Around the conference table sat representatives of 3 species that the galaxy feared. Humans from Earth, Corrin from the high-gravity world of Korra, and surprisingly, Ambassador Tess from the Insectoid Dex Collective. "Your victory against the Krex has been noted." Tess clicked through her translator device. Her species communicated. "Through complex sound patterns that no other race could reproduce, the X have watched human tactics. Impressive efficiency." Lean forward. "Commander Grok, Ambassador Tess, let me be direct. The galaxy sees us as threats because we come from Deathworlds. Perhaps it's time we work together." Grok's laugh was like grinding stone. "The Corrin have fought alone for centuries. But these Krex grow bold. They attack our outer colonies, thinking us weak because we are few. The Dex face similar pressures," Tess added. "Our hive ships are powerful, but we lack numbers for extended campaigns. Unity brings strength." Stone activated a holographic display showing the current galactic situation. Intelligence reports indicate the Krex Empire is mobilizing their core fleets. Over 300 vessels, including their newest dreadnoughts. "They're planning something big," Revenge Grok stated simply. "The Krex do not forgive defeat. They will come for Earth with everything they have." Stone smiled coldly. "Let them come. But when they do, they'll face more than just humanity." 2 weeks later, long-range sensors detected the Krex Armada entering the outer system. Supreme Commander Drax had assembled the largest fleet in recorded galactic history. 312 vessels of the Krex Empire's finest warships, armed with the most advanced weapons their civilization could produce. "This ends today," Drax declared from his flagship, the massive battlecruiser Devastator. "The humans will learn the price of challenging the Krex Empire." His fleet advanced in perfect formation, confident in their overwhelming numbers. The intelligence reports indicated only 50 human ships in the system, supported by a handful of alien vessels. Even Deathworlders could not overcome such odds. Captain Kane stood on the bridge of the Thunderstrike, a flagship of the combined Deathworlder fleet. Inside the human ships floated Corrin battle fortresses and Dex hive ships, an alliance that had never existed before in galactic history. "All ships reporting ready," his tactical officer reported. "The Corrin heavy units are in position. Dex precision squadrons are standing by." Kane opened a channel to the entire fleet. "Warriors of 3 worlds, today we fight not just for survival, but for the right to exist in this galaxy. Show them what Deathworlders can do." The Battle of the Twin Suns began when the Krex fleet entered weapon range. Drax expected the defenders to flee or surrender. Instead, they charged directly into his formation. Human ships led the assault, their railguns and fusion torpedoes tearing through Krex shields like paper. But this time, they were not alone. Corrin vessels, built like flying mountains, absorbed enemy fire and responded with weapons that could crack planets. Dex hive ships swarmed around the larger vessels, their precision strikes hitting critical systems with surgical accuracy. "Impossible!" Drax roared as his tactical display showed Krex ships dying by the dozens. "How can so few destroy so many?" His tactical officer's voice shook with fear. "Sir, their coordination is perfect. They fight as one mind, one will. Ships cannot match their unity." The truth was that the 3 Deathworld species had found something the peaceful galaxy had never possessed: the ability to work together in perfect harmony during combat. Humans provided strategic leadership. Corrin brought overwhelming firepower, and Dex delivered precision strikes. Together, they were unstoppable. Kane watched the Krex formation crumble and felt a savage satisfaction. "Target their command ship. All vessels concentrate fire on the Devastator." The combined firepower of 50 ships struck Drax's flagship simultaneously. The massive vessel, pride of the Krex Empire, exploded in a ball of nuclear fire that could be seen from the planet's surface, with their commander dead and their fleet in ruins. The surviving Krex ships attempted to retreat. Few made it to the jump points. The Deathworlders pursued them relentlessly, showing no mercy to those who had planned genocide. Elder Nala stood in the rebuilt capital of New Velen, watching the celebration in the streets below. Her people were few, but they were free. Around the planet, the combined fleet of the Deathworld Alliance maintained protective patrols. A soft chime indicated an incoming communication. The holographic image of Ambassador Helen Ross materialized in her office. The human diplomat had arrived the previous week to establish formal relations. Elder Nala, Ross said, the Galactic Council has requested a meeting they want to discuss. The new ... situation, Nala understood. The old balance of power was broken. 3 Deathworld species had proven that the galaxy's peaceful civilizations were defenseless against those bred for war. What do the humans want? Nala asked. Ross smiled. But there was steel in her eyes. Peace, trade, mutual cooperation. But on our terms. The galaxy needs protection from threats like the Creks. We're offering to provide that protection. For a price? For respect, Ross corrected. The age of treating Deathworlders as dangerous savages is over. We've proven we can be trusted too. Use our power responsibly. Across the galaxy, the news of the Creks Empire's total defeat sent shockwaves through civilized space. The largest fleet in recorded history had been destroyed by a coalition of species that most civilizations had never heard of. Delegate Orion sat in his office on Centria, reading report after report of worlds requesting protection from the Deathworld Alliance. The irony was not lost on him. The very species they had feared were now being asked to serve as guardians. His communication console chimed. Ambassador Ross's image appeared, her expression diplomatic but firm. Delegate Orion, she began, humanity would like to address the Galactic Council. We have a proposal for lasting peace. Orion nodded wearily. I will arrange it, Ambassador. Though I suspect the galaxy will never be the same. Ross smiled. Change isn't always bad, Delegate. Sometimes the galaxy needs new guardians. The transmission ended, leaving Orion alone with his thoughts. Outside his window, he could see ships from a dozen civilizations, gathering for the most important council session in galactic history. The Deathworlders had answered a simple cry for help, and in doing so, they had changed the fate of every species among the stars. The morning light on Vellani Prime cast long shadows across the crystal towers of the capital city. High Philosopher Nem stood on the observation deck of the council chamber, watching the peaceful streets below. Children played in the floating gardens while their parents tended to the healing centers that made their world famous across the galaxy. It was hard to believe that death was coming for them. Nem turned away from the window and walked back to the circular council chamber. 6 other elders sat in their meditation chairs, their faces showing the strain of sleepless nights. For 3 months, they had watched the outer colonies fall one by one to the Korth Empire. The reports from Valanus 7 are confirmed, said Elder Kira, her voice barely above a whisper. The entire population has been taken as slaves. The mining platforms are already operational. Elder Ren, the youngest of their group, leaned forward. In his chair. How many does that make now? 4 colonies completely lost, Nem replied. 3 more under siege. The Korth war fleets are moving toward the inner systems. We have perhaps 2 months before they reach us here. The council chamber fell silent except for the gentle sound of water flowing through the meditation channels. These sounds had once brought peace to their deliberations. Now they seemed to mock their helplessness. Our defense fleets? Asked Elder Jox. Destroyed or scattered, Kira answered. Admiral Val's ships tried to make a stand at Vellani 5. The Korth overwhelmed them in 6 hours. Val himself was captured. Alive, the Korth are broadcasting his interrogation across all frequencies as a warning to other systems. Nem closed his eyes.
Ow.
Had been a good friend, a gentle soul who commanded their small defense forces with wisdom rather than aggression. The thought of him in Korth hands made her stomach turn. The other species in our sector? Ren asked hopefully. The Trask Confederation offered to take refugees, but only if we can pay for transport and settlement, Jox replied. The Meridian Trade Union closed their borders entirely. They fear the Korth will follow us there, and the Galactic Council, Kira, made a sound of disgust, expressed deep concern, and promised to send a diplomatic mission to negotiate with the Korth. The mission will arrive in 18 months. The elders sat in bitter silence. 18 months. They would all be dead or enslaved by then, their beautiful world stripped bare, like all the others that had fallen to the Korth war machine. Nem had lived for 200 years, had seen the rise and fall of 3 different galactic governments, had helped broker peace treaties between a dozen species. Never had she felt so helpless. "There must be someone," she said finally. "Some species willing to help us. We have sent requests to 47 different civilizations," Ren replied, consulting his datapad. "Most have not bothered to respond. Those who have made it clear that helping us would only bring Korth attention to their own worlds." Elder Tam, who had been silent throughout the meeting, spoke up. "What about the fringe species? The ones not yet part of the main galactic community?" "Fringe species are usually primitive," Jox pointed out. "What could they offer us that the advanced civilizations cannot?" "Desperation makes strange allies," Tam replied quietly. Nem considered this. The fringe species were often looked down upon by the established galactic powers. Most were still developing their technology, still learning to travel between stars. But perhaps that very isolation might make them willing to help where others would not. "Expand the search," she ordered. "Include all known species, regardless of their development level." Dr. Kira, their chief scientist, worked through the night, updating their distress beacon. She included technical specifications about their medical advances, offering to share their healing knowledge with any species willing to provide aid. She added cultural information, hoping to appeal to any civilization that valued art, philosophy, or learning. The message was simple. The Villani were a peaceful people facing extinction. They asked for help in any form: military aid, transport for refugees, or simply a place to preserve their knowledge and culture. The beacon launched at dawn, carrying their plea across thousands of light years. It would take weeks for responses to arrive, if any came at all. Days passed slowly. Council met twice daily, reviewing intelligence reports that grew worse with each update. The Korth had taken Villani 3 and were moving their fleet toward Villani 2. Refugee ships limped into their system, carrying horrible stories of what happened on the conquered worlds. Then, 17 days after the beacon launched, responses began arriving. The first came from the Nexian Republic. "Your request has been reviewed and denied. The Nexian Republic cannot risk conflict with the Korth Empire." The second from the Altair Collective. "We sympathize with your situation, but lack the military resources to provide meaningful assistance." More refusals followed. Some polite, others blunt, all carrying the same message. The Villani were on their own. Elder Ren tracked each response on his datapad, his hope fading with each rejection. 43 responses so far, he reported to the council. All negative. "Apps. We should consider surrender," suggested Elder Jox. "If we submit peacefully, the Korth might allow some of our people to survive as slaves." "Better slaves than corpses," Tam agreed. "Sadly," Nem shook her head. "The Korth do not take entire populations as slaves. They keep the young and strong for labor, eliminate the old and weak. Half our people would die in the first month." It was then that the 44th response arrived. Dr. Kira's communication device chimed, and she quickly accessed the incoming message. Her expression changed as she read, confusion replacing despair. "This one is different," she said slowly. "Different how?" "Oh," Nem asked. "It is from a species called humans. They come from a system called Sol, 3rd planet from their star, they say. They received our distress call and are willing to provide assistance." Hope flickered in the chamber. "What kind of assistance?" Ren asked eagerly. Kira frowned at her screen. "They do not specify. They only say they are sending a representative to discuss terms. The message is signed by someone called Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Corps." "Earth Defense Corps?" Tam repeated. "That sounds military." "Check their classification in the Galactic database," Nem ordered. Kira worked quickly, searching through the records. "Here," she said. "Sol system, 3rd planet, species designation, Human, recently discovered limited contact with Galactic community. She paused, reading further. Their world is classified as... That cannot be right. What is it? Class 12 Deathworld, Kira read aloud. The elders exchanged confused glances. None of them had heard that term before. What does that mean? Asked Kira, searched through the classification system. A Deathworld is a planet where the environment is extremely hostile to life. Class 12 is the highest rating. It means their world is considered barely habitable, filled with dangerous predators, extreme weather, and natural disasters. How do they survive on such a world? Jox wondered. Perhaps they are very advanced technologically, Tam suggested. Or very primitive and hardy, Ren countered. Nen felt a chill of uncertainty. What kind of species evolved on a world so dangerous it was rated Class 12? But then she looked around at her fellow elders, saw the desperation in their eyes, and made her decision. Send a response, she ordered. Tell Captain Morrison that the Villani Confederation accepts their offer of assistance. Invite him to Villani. Prime for immediate discussions. As the message was sent, none of them could imagine what they had just set in motion. The human fleet arrived at Villani Prime 3 weeks later, dropping out of hyperspace with precision that impressed even the Villani tracking stations. From orbit, the ships looked different from anything the Villani had ever seen. Where their own vessels were curved and elegant, built for beauty as much as function. The human ships were angular and brutal. High Philosopher Nem stood in the spaceport's observation lounge with her diplomatic team, watching the human shuttle descend. The craft moved with purpose, no wasted motion or graceful flourishes. It looked like what it was, a machine built for war. Their leader should arrive any moment, reported Diplomat Ren, checking his communication device. Captain Morrison requested this meeting to discuss operational parameters. Dr. Kira frowned. Operational parameters? That is military language. We asked for humanitarian aid. Perhaps they are simply being efficient, Nem said, though doubt crept into her voice. Their message mentioned Earth Defense Corps, military. Organizations often handle disaster relief. The shuttle landed with a heavy thud that shook the terminal building. The Villani waited politely as the airlock cycled, expecting to meet perhaps a small diplomatic team with medical supplies or evacuation. Plans. The airlock opened, and Captain Jake Morrison stepped out. He was enormous. Not just tall, though he stood a full head above any Villani, but broad and muscular in a way that spoke of a world where physical strength mattered for survival. His skin was darker than most Villani, weathered by what must have been harsh conditions. His clothes were practical military uniform. In dull green with patches and insignia they did not recognize. Behind him came 4 more humans. All nearly as large, all wearing the same military bearing. They moved like predators, Nem realized with a start. Their eyes constantly scanned the area, looking for threats that did not exist in the peaceful spaceport. High Philosopher Nem Morrison said, extending his hand in what the Villani had learned was a human greeting. His voice was deep and carried authority. Thank you for meeting with us. Nem took his hand carefully. His grip was firm but controlled, though she could feel the strength behind it. Captain Morrison, we're grateful you answered our call for aid. Let's get right to business, Morrison said, gesturing to his team. This is Major Lisa Torres, our tactical specialist. Dr. Tom Rodriguez handles intelligence gathering. Sergeant Ryan Kelly is our logistics coordinator, and Lieutenant Anna Foster manages communications. The Villani exchanged glances. Tactical specialist? Intelligence gathering? These were military terms, not humanitarian ones. Perhaps we should move to a more comfortable setting, Ren suggested, diplomatically. We have prepared meeting rooms, where we can discuss refugee transport and medical supplies. Morrison's expression grew puzzled. Refugee transport? I thought you needed help dealing with the Korth invasion. Yes, Kira said carefully. We hoped you might help evacuate our people before the Korth arrive, or perhaps provide medical aid for the wounded from our outer colonies. It's Major Torres. Stepped forward. She was smaller than Morrison, but moved with the same predatory grace. It's her. I think there might be some confusion about what kind of help they're expecting. Morrison nodded slowly. Philosopher. Let me clarify something. When you sent that distress call asking for aid against the Korth Empire, what exactly did you expect us to do? Nem felt a growing unease. We hoped for humanitarian assistance. Transport ships to evacuate civilians. Medical supplies. Perhaps technology to help us defend ourselves. Technology to help you defend yourselves, Morrison repeated. What about actually defending you? I do not understand, Wren said. Dr. Rodriguez pulled out a tablet device. According to our intelligence, the Korth Empire has conquered 4 of your colonies and killed or enslaved over 2 million of your people. They're moving toward your core worlds with a battle fleet of approximately 200 ships. Accurate. Yes, but we are a peaceful people, Kira explained. We do not have experience with military conflict. We hoped other species might help us avoid further violence. Lieutenant Foster looked confused. Avoid violence? The Korth are actively attacking you? How do you avoid violence when someone is trying to kill you? Through negotiation, Nem said. Diplomatic solutions. Perhaps offering them what they want without further bloodshed. The humans stared at her in silence. Morrison's expression shifted through several emotions: confusion, disbelief, and something that might have been concern. Let me get this straight, Sergeant Kelly said slowly. These Korth have invaded your territory, killed millions of your people, and are heading here to do the same to you. You want to negotiate with them? Violence only creates more violence, Wren explained patiently. It is better to find peaceful solutions. Major Torres shook her head. Sir, I think we need to explain human doctrine here. Morrison nodded grimly. Hi, philosopher. There seems to be a fundamental misunderstanding. When humans receive a distress call about an invasion, we respond with military force. We came here to fight the Korth, not to help you run away from them. The Villani delegation fell silent. Dr. Kira was the first to speak. Fight them, Captain? The Korth Empire is a massive military organization. Their warriors are bred for combat. They've been conquering systems for centuries. And, Morrison asked, and you are one small species from a single system, Kira continued. How could you possibly stand against them? Dr. Rodriguez laughed, a sound that sent chills down Villani's spines. Ma'am, with respect, you have no idea what you're dealing with. Humans don't just fight, we win. The Korth have superior numbers, Wren pointed out. Numbers matter less than you think, Torres said. What matters is knowing how to kill your enemy more efficiently than they can kill you. The casual way she said the word kill made Nem step back involuntarily. These humans spoke of death and violence as easily as the Villani discussed philosophy and healing. Perhaps we should discuss this more calmly, Nem suggested, where we can review options more thoroughly. Good idea, Morrison agreed. We need to understand Korth military capabilities, their fleet composition, supply lines, command structure, standard intelligence gathering before we engage. As they walked through the crystal corridors of the government complex, the humans attracted stares from every Villani they passed. Children pointed and whispered. Adults moved out of their way, sensing something dangerous, even if they could not name it. In the council chamber, the cultural gap became even more apparent. The Villani had prepared a presentation about their evacuation needs, refugee capacity requirements, and medical supply priorities. The humans had prepared questions about Korth weapons technology, armor capabilities, and tactical preferences. Let's start with basic intelligence, Dr. Rodriguez said, activating his tablet. How do the Korth typically attack a defended system? Surround the planet and demand surrender, Elder Jox explained. If refused, they begin orbital bombardment until resistance ceases. What kind of orbital bombardment? Torres asked. Energy weapons? Kinetic projectiles? Nuclear? We do not know, Jox admitted. We are not military people. Lieutenant Foster frowned. How can you not know? Haven't you studied their tactics? We've studied their culture, Kira said defensively. Their art, their philosophy, their social structure. We hope to understand them well enough to find peaceful solutions. Morrison rubbed his forehead. You studied their art while they were invading your colonies. Knowledge is the path to understanding, Nem explained. Understanding leads to peace. No, Sergeant Kelly said flatly. Understanding leads to knowing exactly how to hurt them where it counts. The conversation continued for hours, the humans asking increasingly specific questions about Korth military capabilities, while the Villani tried to steer the discussion toward diplomatic alternatives. The more the humans learned about Korth tactics, the more animated they became. They spoke excitedly about flanking maneuvers, supply line interdiction, something they called shock and awe. Finally, as the day grew late, Morrison stood up. I think we have enough information to begin planning our response. Response? Nem asked weakly. Our attack strategy, Torres clarified. We'll need to hit them hard and fast before they can bring their full fleet to bear. Dr. Kira stood her hands trembling slightly. Captain Morrison, with all respect, I do not think you understand what you are suggesting. The Korth Empire spans dozens of systems. They have thousands of ships, millions of warriors. They are the most feared military force in this sector. Morrison smiled, and for the first time, the Villani saw something truly frightening. It was not anger or hatred, but a cold confidence that spoke of absolute certainty. Doctor, he said quietly, you have no idea what humans are capable of when someone threatens people we've promised to protect. As the humans filed out of the chamber, the Villani Council sat in stunned silence, beginning to understand that their plea for aid had brought something far more dangerous than the Korth invasion. It had brought humanity to war. War Chieftain Vex stood on the command bridge of his flagship, the Blood Reaper, watching Villani Prime grow larger on the view screen. The planet looked peaceful from orbit. Blue oceans, white clouds, and cities that sparkled like jewels in. The sunlight would make a fine addition to the Korth Empire. Behind him, the rest of his battle fleet held formation. 140 ships, from massive dreadnoughts to swift attack cruisers. It was more than enough firepower to crush any resistance the weak Villani might offer. Commander Grax Vex called to his second-in-command. The Villani responded to our surrender demand. Yes, War Chieftain, Grax replied, checking his communication panel. They request negotiations. They offer to share their medical technology in exchange for peaceful withdrawal. Vex laughed, a harsh sound that echoed across the bridge. Cole. Technology. These soft creatures think they can buy their lives with healing arts. He turned to face his crew. Show them what the Korth Empire thinks of their negotiations. The order went out across the fleet. Weapon systems charged. Targeting. Computers locked onto the planet's major cities. In moments, it would begin the orbital bombardment that had brought dozens of worlds to their knees. Then something unexpected appeared on the sensor screens. War Chieftain, called the sensor operator, his voice uncertain. New contacts dropping, out of hyperspace, bearing 27-Mark-6. Vex moved to the sensor station. How many ships? 37, sir? Unknown configuration? XXLV-7 ships? Vex almost dismissed them entirely. His fleet outnumbered them nearly 4-1. Are they Villani reinforcements? Negative, sir. Different technology entirely. The computer cannot identify their species. On the main screen, the unknown fleet moved into formation between the Korth Armada and Villani Prime. The ships were smaller than Korth dreadnoughts, but moved with precision that impressed even Vex. They looked dangerous in a way that the elegant Villani vessels never had. Open a communication channel, Vex ordered. Let us see who dares to interfere with Korth conquest. The screen flickered, and a face appeared that made several Korth warriors step back in surprise. The creature was bipedal like them, but different. Its skin was pale, its features sharp, and its eyes held a coldness that spoke of intelligence and deadly purpose. This is Admiral Lisa Torres of the Earth's Defense Corps, the creature said. You are in violation of Terran-protected space. Withdraw immediately, or face the consequences. Vex studied the alien admiral. She was smaller than a Korth warrior, but something in her manner suggested she was not afraid. I am War Chieftain Vex of the Korth Empire. This system belongs to us by right of conquest. Withdraw your pitiful fleet before we destroy it. Torres smiled, and that smile made Vex feel something he had not experienced in years: uncertainty. She said calmly, "You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawal. After that, we will demonstrate why humans are called Deathworlders." The communication ended. Vex stared at the blank screen for a moment, then began to laugh. Deathworlders. What does that even mean? He turned to his weapons officer. Target their flagship. Show these humans what real firepower looks like. The Blood Reaper's main guns fired, sending streams of plasma toward the human fleet. Other Korth ships followed suit, filling space with deadly energy. Then something happened that would be talked about in military academies for generations. The human ships did not try to avoid the incoming fire. Instead, they accelerated directly into it. "What are they doing?" Grax demanded, watching the tactical display in disbelief. Vex had no answer. No species in the galaxy fought like this. Ships were supposed to maintain distance, use long-range weapons, preserve themselves while wearing down the enemy. These humans were charging straight into the teeth of his formation like madmen. The first human ship reached the Korth line. What followed defied everything Vex knew about space combat. Instead of trading fire at a safe distance, the human vessel rammed itself into a Korth cruiser. Both ships erupted in flames, but somehow the human ship kept fighting, even as it burned. "Impossible," breathed the sensor operator. "Their ship is venting atmosphere, and their power systems are failing, but they are still shooting." More human ships smashed into the Korth formation. They fought at ranges so close that weapons designed for long-distance engagement became devastating. The disciplined Korth battle line dissolved into chaos as captains tried to avoid the suicidal human attacks. "All ships, maintain formation." Vex roared into his communicator. "Do not let them break our line." But it was too late. The humans had done something no enemy had ever accomplished. They had shattered Korth battle doctrine through sheer insanity. On his screen, Vex watched a human destroyer exchange fire with 3 Korth cruisers at point-blank range. The human ship was dying, its hull cracked and bleeding fire into space, but its crew kept fighting. When their main guns failed, they used smaller weapons. When those failed, they rammed the nearest enemy ship. War Chieftain, his communications officer called out, fear creeping into his voice. "The Iron Fist is requesting permission to withdraw. Captain Mock says the humans are boarding his ship." Boarding. Vex could not believe what he was hearing. In the middle of a space battle? The tactical display showed the truth. Human soldiers had somehow crossed from their dying ships to Korth vessels and were fighting hand-to-hand in the corridors. It was madness. It was impossible. It was terrifying. The sensor operator reported, his voice now openly frightened. "We are receiving distress calls from 12 of our ships. The humans are... they're inside their holes, fighting in the corridors." Vex felt something cold settle in his stomach. In 3 centuries of warfare, no enemy had ever boarded Korth ships during active combat. The very idea was insane, crossing open space while under fire, cutting through armored hulls, fighting trained Korth warriors in close quarters. "Captain," Jake Morrison's voice crackled over the communication system, somehow having broken into Korth frequencies. "All Korth vessels, this is your final warning. Surrender now or we will board every ship in your fleet." "Surrender," Vex snarled. "We are Korth. We do not surrender to inferior species." "Inferior." Morrison's laugh was cold and deadly. "War Chieftain, you're about to learn why evolution made humans the ultimate predators." The battle raged for 6 more hours. The humans fought with a savagery that shocked even the warlike Korth. They used tactics that seemed suicidal, but proved devastatingly effective. Ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting. Crews that should have died kept killing. Most disturbing of all was the way the humans fought in boarding actions. Korth warriors were bred for combat, trained from birth to kill without mercy. But the humans fought differently. They fought like creatures that had evolved on a world where everything wanted to kill them, where only the most cunning and ruthless survived. When the Iron Fist finally went silent, Vex made a decision that would have been unthinkable that morning. He ordered a general retreat. All ships, he broadcast to his remaining fleet, withdraw to Rally Point 7. We regroup and reassess. As the surviving Korth ships limped away from Volani Prime, Vex looked at the tactical summary. He had lost 43 ships and nearly 30,000 warriors. The humans had lost 19 ships, but somehow most of their crews had survived by transferring to captured Korth vessels. Commander Grax approached him carefully. War Chieftain, what are your orders? Vex stared at the retreating human fleet, trying to understand what had just happened. His forces had encountered something unprecedented, a species that fought without fear of death, that turned defeat into victory through sheer determination. Send a message to High Command, he said quietly. Tell them we have encountered a new threat. Tell them the humans are unlike anything we have faced before. As his fleet jumped to hyperspace, Vex found himself thinking about Admiral Torres's smile and Captain Morrison's cold laughter. For the first time in his career, he wondered if the Korth Empire had finally met an enemy it could not defeat. On Volani Prime, High Philosopher Nem watched the human fleet from her observation deck. The ships hung in orbit like sleeping predators, their hulls scarred but victorious. She had asked for aid, and these Deathworlders had delivered it. In the most terrifying way possible, she was beginning to understand that humanity's help came with a price that no one had bothered to calculate. 3 days after the battle, High Philosopher Nem found herself in the strangest diplomatic meeting of her life. The human fleet still orbited Volani Prime, but instead of celebrating their victory, the immediate threat has been neutralized, Torres explained, pointing to a holographic display showing the local star systems. But War Chieftain Vex's fleet was only a fraction of Korth military power. They will regroup and return with reinforcements. Captain, Morrison nodded grimly. Our intelligence suggests the Korth Empire has over 1,000 ships spread across their territory. They can replace what they lost here within 6 months. Dr. Kira leaned forward in her chair. Then we have bought ourselves time. Perhaps now we can negotiate with their leadership, find a peaceful solution. The humans exchanged glances that spoke volumes. Major Tom Rodriguez cleared his throat. Doctor, with respect, you still do not understand the situation. Korth are not going to negotiate. They are predators. All species can be reasoned with, Elder Wren insisted. Violence only creates cycles of revenge. You are thinking like prey, said Lieutenant Anna Foster bluntly. Prey species believe that if they submit, if they show they are not a threat, predators will leave them alone. But that is not how predators think. Admiral Torres activated another display, showing intelligence reports from the conquered Volani colonies. Look at what happened on Volani 7. The population surrendered immediately, offered no resistance. Korth still enslaved half of them, and killed the rest. They kept the useful ones for labor, and eliminated those they considered unnecessary. Nem felt sick as she read the reports. Families separated, children taken from parents. Elderly citizens simply executed because they could not work. This is ... horrible. They do not respect. Weakness, they exploit it. The only thing a predator species understands is superior force. So what do you propose? Asked Elder Jox nervously. Weather. The Volani Council stared at her in shocked silence. Finally, Nem found her voice. Elimination? Admiral, surely you do not mean. I mean exactly what I said, Torres continued. The Korth Empire must be dismantled, our military capabilities destroyed, their ability to threaten other species permanently removed. Dr. Rodriguez pulled up a tactical map showing Korth territory. We have identified 17 major military installations, 43 shipyards, and 12 command centers. All of these targets must be neutralized to ensure they cannot mount another invasion. You are talking about attacking their entire empire, Kira said, her voice barely a whisper. That could mean war across dozens of systems. No, Morrison. Corrected. That will mean the end of war in this sector. Permanently. Sergeant Ryan Kelly activated another display showing supply routes and communication networks. Predator species like the Korth only stop when they are no longer capable of predation. Half measures, just give them time to adapt and return stronger. Elder Tam spoke up from the back of the room. But surely some of their people are innocent. There must be civilians, families, children, who have nothing to do with their military. Of course there are, Torres agreed. We will do everything possible to minimize civilian casualties. But we cannot allow concern for Korth civilians to override protection of future victims. That sounds cold, Ren said. It is cold, Morrison admitted, but it is also logical. How many Villani children died on your colonies? How many more will die if we let the Korth rebuild their strength? The question hung in the air like poison. Nem thought of the reports from the outer colonies, the families torn apart, the senseless slaughter of their children who might suffer if the humans carried out their plan. There must be another way, she said desperately. Name one, Torres challenged. Give me a single example in galactic history where a predator species voluntarily gave up conquest after a military defeat. Nem searched her memory, her vast knowledge of interstellar relations and diplomatic history. She found nothing. Every aggressive species had either been destroyed or had evolved beyond their predatory nature over thousands of years. The Meridian Empire, she said finally. They were warlike 3 centuries ago, but they changed. After their home system was blockaded for 50 years, and their entire military was dismantled, Rodriguez pointed out. It changed because they had no choice. That is exactly what we are proposing for the Korth. Lieutenant Foster displayed another set of data. We have also intercepted Korth communications. They are not planning to negotiate or withdraw. Or Chieftain Vex has already requested reinforcements from 5 other fleet commanders. They intend to return with overwhelming force. When? Jox asked. 3 months, Morrison replied. Maybe 4 if we are lucky. The humans began discussing their operational plans with clinical efficiency. Command centers, something they called psychological warfare, that involved making the Korth afraid to leave their home systems. You are planning to terrorize them, Kira realized with horror. We are planning to make them understand that aggression has consequences, Torres corrected. Fear is a tool, Doctor. Used properly, it can save more lives than any weapon. Rodriguez activated a new display showing human military doctrine. On Earth, we learned long ago that the most merciful thing you can do to a predator is to make it afraid to hunt. A predator that fears its prey stops being a predator. And if they do not stop, Nem asked. The silence that followed was answer. Enough. Elder Ren stood up shakily. I cannot be part of this. The Villani are a peaceful people. We do not condone such methods. You do not have to condone them, Morrison said gently. You just have to not interfere with them. You are asking us to stand aside while you commit genocide? Tam accused. No, Torres replied firmly. We are asking you to stand aside while we commit survival. Your survival, and the survival of every species the Korth might target next. Captain Morrison walked to the window overlooking the city below. Villani children played in the parks. Their parents tended the healing gardens. And life continued as if the universe was still a safe place. Hi, philosopher, he said without turning around. You called for help, we answered, but we are not going to do this halfway. We are not going to save you today just to watch you die tomorrow when the Korth returns stronger. This is not what we wanted, Nem said quietly. No, Torres agreed. But it is what you need. You asked for aid. This is how humans provide aid. We do not just solve immediate problems. We eliminate them permanently. Dr. Rodriguez displayed final intelligence reports. We have located War Chieftain Vex's retreat position. Our forward scouts are all ready. Tracking Korth fleet movements. Phase 1 of the operation begins tomorrow. What is Phase 1? Kira asked reluctantly. We take the fight to them, Morrison replied, finally turning from the window. We show the Korth Empire what happens when they threaten species under human protection. The meeting ended with the Villani Council in stunned silence. As the humans filed out to return to their ships, Nem felt a crushing weight of responsibility. She had asked for help, and these Deathworlders had answered. But their version of help was so far beyond anything she had imagined that she wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. Outside the conference room, Admiral Torres paused and looked back at the Villani leaders. Hi, philosopher, I understand. This is difficult for your people. But in 6 months, when your children are still alive and free, you will understand why we do things this way." As the door closed behind the humans, Elder Wren shook his head sadly. "What have we done?" "We have survived," Nem replied, though she was no longer certain if survival was worth the price they were about to pay. War Chieftain Vex stood in the command center of Fortress Prime, the massive orbital defense station that protected the Korth homeworld. Round him, holographic displays showed the approaching human fleet, and what he saw defied everything he thought he knew about warfare. The humans had not come with just warships. They had brought an entire industrial complex. He ordered his intelligence officer. 112 human vessels, War Chieftain, the officer replied, his voice tight with fear. 47 are military ships. The rest we're not certain what they are. Vex studied the tactical display. Mixed in with the sleek destroyers and brutal-looking cruisers were massive, ungainly ships that looked more like floating factories than weapons of war. Behind them came even stranger vessels, huge cylinder-shaped craft that his sensors identified as colony ships. "Colony ships," he muttered. "They bring civilians to a battle?" His communications officer looked up from his station. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. It is addressed to all Korth military commanders. Put it through." Admiral Torres appeared on the main screen, but she looked different from their first encounter. Her uniform was cleaner, her expression calmer, and her eyes held the patience of a predator that knew its prey was trapped. "Ow! War Chieftain Vex," she said formally. "I am offering you one final opportunity to surrender. Lay down your weapons. Disband your military forces and accept human oversight of your territory. Do this, and your people will be allowed to live peacefully under our protection." Vex laughed harshly. "You think 60 ships can challenge the might of our home defense fleet? We have 300 vessels protecting the system, orbital fortresses built over centuries, and the finest warriors in the galaxy." Torres nodded as if she had expected this response. "Very well, Captain Morrison. Begin Phase 1. The transmission ended, and Vex turned to his fleet commanders. "All ships, prepare for battle. Show these humans what happens when they threaten the Korth homeworld." The first sign that this battle would be different came when the human industrial ships began deploying something into space. Thousands of small objects spread out from the fleet, moving too fast for Korth sensors to track effectively. "What are those?" demanded Commander Grax. Before anyone could answer, the objects began to explode. It's not randomly, but in precise patterns that created clouds of metallic debris along the orbital approach routes. In minutes, the humans had turned empty space into a deadly maze. "They are blocking our attack vectors," the tactical officer reported with disbelief. "They have mind space itself." Vex had never seen anything like it. The humans were not just fighting a battle, they were reshaping the battlefield to their advantage. Then the colony ships moved forward. Vex felt his blood turn cold. Massive vessels positioned themselves at strategic points around the system and began to unfold. Like giant flowers blooming in space, they opened to reveal construction equipment, mining platforms, and what looked like entire cities ready to be assembled. "Sir," his communications officer called out, his voice cracking with fear, "the humans are building a base in our home system." During the battle, Captain Morrison's voice echoed across all Korth frequencies. "Attention all Korth personnel. As of this moment, this system is under human control. Any ship that attempts to leave will be destroyed. Any facility that resists will be eliminated. You have 1 hour to surrender." "Impossible," Vex roared. "We have the strongest defenses in the Empire." As if to answer his boast, the human fleet began its attack. But it was not the chaotic charge they had used at Villani Prime. This was something far more terrifying and methodical, a surgical dismantling. Of everything the Korth had built, the human ships moved through the defensive maze they had created with perfect coordination. They knew exactly where every mine, every debris field, every clear passage lay because they had created them all. Fortress Prime shuddered as human weapons found their targets. But these were not the crude energy blasts Vex expected. These were precisely aimed strikes that disabled specific systems, communication arrays, sensor networks, weapon control centers. They are not trying to destroy us, Grax realized with horror. They are trying to capture us. On the tactical display, Vex watched his defense fleet being systematically neutralized. Human ships used those insane boarding tactics again, but this time they were supported by the industrial vessels. Specialized equipment cut through Korth hulls like paper. Entire ship sections were sealed off and captured intact. War Chieftain, his sensor operator, reported, "The humans are taking our ships. They are not destroying them. They're stealing them." The battle raged for 18 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The humans fought with the efficiency of a species that had turned warfare into a science. Every move was calculated. Every tactic served multiple purposes. They were not just winning, they were demonstrating complete mastery of violence. When Fortress Prime finally fell, Vex found himself face to face with Captain Morrison in his own command center. The human looked tired but satisfied, like a worker who had completed a difficult but necessary job. "War Chieftain," Morrison said politely, "I need you to send a message to all Korth military commanders. Tell them to surrender. Tell them resistance is futile." "Never," Vex snarled. "The Korth do not surrender." Morrison sighed and gestured to Major Rodriguez, who activated a portable holographic display. It showed the Korth home world from orbit, but something was wrong with the image. The planet looked smaller somehow. "We have been very busy while your fleet was fighting," Morrison explained. "Those industrial ships you saw, they've been mining your asteroid belt, processing the raw materials, and building new installations. In 18 hours, we have constructed a complete orbital infrastructure around your world." Vex stared at the display in disbelief. Massive space stations now orbited his home planet. Construction platforms hung in space like mechanical spiders. The humans had not just conquered his system, they had colonized it. "How?" he whispered. "Efficiency," Morrison replied. "When humans decide to take something, we take it completely. Your empire is finished, War Chieftain. Not just defeated, dismantled. We have captured your shipyards, your supply depots, your command centers. We control your trade routes and your communication networks." Dr. Rodriguez displayed another set of images. "We have also been broadcasting educational programs to your civilian population, teaching them about human laws, human justice, human civilization. Most of them seem quite interested in learning about alternatives to constant warfare." "You are destroying our culture," Vex accused. "No," Morrison corrected. "We are offering your people a choice. They can continue to live as warriors in a universe that no longer has room for their kind of warfare, or they can learn to live as something else." Major Torres entered the command center, removing her helmet and looking around with professional interest. "Clean operation, Captain. Minimal casualties on both sides. The Korth civilians are cooperating well with the occupation forces." "Occupation?" Vex felt something break inside him. "Temporary," Torres assured him. "Once your people have learned to live peacefully, we will withdraw our military presence. But that could take years, maybe decades." Morrison pulled up a chair and sat down across from Vex. "War Chieftain, your empire terrorized this sector for centuries. You enslaved populations, destroyed civilizations, caused immeasurable suffering. That ends now." "We were strong," Vex said weakly. "We were apex predators," where Morrison agreed. Past tense. "Now you are under human protection, just like the Vallani. The difference is that they asked for our help. You required more direct intervention." On Vallani Prime, High Philosopher Nem stood in her observation chamber, watching the news broadcasts from across the galaxy. The Korth Empire had fallen in less than a month. Not destroyed, transformed. Human administrators were helping former Korth colonies establish peaceful governments. Human engineers were converting weapons factories into schools and hospitals. Dr. Kira joined her at the window. "The reports say the Korth home world is quiet. No resistance movements. No insurgency. The population seems to be adapting to human oversight." "And what of War Chieftain Vex?" "Working in an agricultural center on the planet's southern continent," Kira replied. "Growing food instead of planning conquests. The humans say he is learning to find purpose in creation rather than destruction." Nem watched human children playing with Villani youngsters in the gardens below. The sight should have been heartwarming, but she found it unsettling. These same humans who played so gently with children had dismantled an entire interstellar empire with cold efficiency. They kept their word, she said finally. They protected us. Yes, Kira agreed. But I wonder sometimes if we truly understood what protection meant to a species like humanity. In the distance, human ships continued their patrols, ensuring that the peace they had imposed would last. The galaxy was safer now, but it was also forever changed. The age of predator species was over, ended not by diplomacy or evolution, but by the arrival of ultimate predators who chose to protect instead of consume. Nem thought about the message they had sent so desperately months ago, asking for aid. Had gotten exactly what they asked for, delivered in the most complete way possible. Sometimes, she reflected, the most terrifying thing about getting what you wished for was discovering that you had never really understood what you were asking for in the first place.